r/Askreddit. What's the dumbest thing you actually believed? That I could smell something while underwater. When I was around 10 over 12 years old, I was in a tropical themed water park where also happened to be a herbal bath. It smelled very nice, which I had not expected. Most of the tropical plants were fake plastic plants, so I figured the water in the bath was normal swimming pool water and the smell was coming from something else. The bath was surrounded with a small aromatic herb garden which didn't look fake. I sneakily took a sample from a thyme plant that felt surprisingly real. But because the air was filled with all the different aromas and a hint of chlorine, I couldn't smell anything different when I tried to smell the thyme. I figured the only place where my sense of smell couldn't be fooled by any fuckery was underwater. For 5 seconds I actually felt pretty smart. Until I tried. Edit. Wow. Thanks for the awards and upvotes. This makes my day. I wish I could answer the question about the smell underwater, but I found out it doesn't work like that. As soon as the water entered my nose, I noticed the flaw in my plan and the irony of it all. My head came up immediately, all while laughing, because I felt so smart with my waterproof plan a second ago, and coughing, which only made it worse, and resulted in another gulp of water going in the opposite direction. No physical damage indeed. Some people described how this works in the comments, and as others said, it hurts a bit, but not too long. Glad to see some of you also tried to experiment with their airways underwater, even though our results probably never will lead to a scientific breakthrough. Let us never be dumber than that again. I thought guys got periods too, but only once, and you bled, and then you were able to impregnate someone. I cut my upper leg during a rugby match and was bleeding near my groin and was devastated because I thought everyone would presume I had my period mid-match and also subsequently would be walking around able to impregnate people. Worst thing is, I wasn't even a stupid kid. We literally just lived in a reserved country and I was a full-time boarder at my school, so never got the talk. Anyway, thanks for attending my bled talk. That the Great Wall of China had a cat adoption program. I was meeting my friend's boyfriend for the first time, and he mentioned that he had just adopted one of the retired Great Wall of China cats. China trains these cats to patrol the wall and kill vermin, and at the end of their 7-year stint they are retired and adopted out to a forever home. I kept asking questions about it. How do you apply? Are they a specific breed? How do they get transported worldwide? In the end, he told me that he made the whole thing up because my friend had told him I was really gullible and wanted to see how far he could push it, but he didn't think I'd get so enthused. The worst part? I was in my mid-20s at the time. Edit. Thanks for the awards, lovelies. Also, just thought I'd address some of the comments and clarify that my friend is actually a really sweet person. She's stood up for me many times when people have been cruel or insulting. It was an innocent prank, and I'm okay with taking the piss out of myself. I grew up in a Jewish household, but was aware of the whole Christmas thing. It was my understanding that Santa would go around bringing gifts to kids if they left out a plate of cookies and some milk for him. Seemed easy enough to ask the night before Christmas, and I left the perfect food arrangement out for Santa, thinking in spite of my religious beliefs, he might leave me a gift in exchange for the snacks. When I woke the next morning, the cookies and milk were gone, but no present was left. I was furious. How dare this jolly fat man come into my hole, steal my food, and not leave anything in return. I spent years complaining about it, and would curse the man's name if I saw him. Of course, years later my dad admitted that he had eaten everything. Thanks, Dad. When I was a little kid, I believed that when people got divorced, they had a divorce ceremony, like where they had to go to church and say, "I don't," and I imagined the woman wore a black divorce dress, like her wedding dress had been dyed black, and that everybody went to the reception, where the ex-bride and ex-groom sat on opposite sides of the hall and there was a divorce cake where the little bride and groom on top had their backs to each other with their arms angrily crossed. I eventually learned from watching my mom's soap operas that this was not the case and was kind of disappointed cause I'd been to a few weddings by then and was interested in what a divorce ceremony was like. I believed I could kill people with my hands when my fish died after I took it out of the water when I was 4. so I never hugged or touched anyone until at school I poked a person I hated and he didn't die. Edit 1. Yes, I tried to murder him because he told on the teacher when I peed on the banana plant / tree. If you guys want me to tell that story, tell me where I should post it. Edit 2. I climbed on the table when I killed the fish. Also, I used to live in Brazil, that's why it's a banana tree. And no, I was not the janitor. We didn't have a janitor. You made a mess, you cleaned it. I was in preschool, not high school. I love the theories you guys are making though. The banana tree story. When I was 4 in preschool, we had a game called Girls Try and Kiss the Boys. I didn't want to get kissed, so I climbed up the 8-foot tall banana tree with a tree house. I decided to go on the roof and collect a bundle of bananas. When a girl tried climbing up, I took the peel off one of the bananas and threw it at her face. I missed, but it scared her off. I thought I was going to get in trouble, so I pulled up the rope ladder and hid. I was so scared of going down. When I had to pee, I just poked my dung out the window and peed on the tree. A kid saw this and told the teacher. The teacher came and I wouldn't go down. Then she said I would get candy, so I went down. There was no candy. They called my mom and I had to talk to the principal. I couldn't watch TV for a day. The worst part was today was the day that they had Adventure Time on TV at the time I got home. After that day I hated the kid that told on me. OMG, I actually have a good one for this. My parents were super open about talking to me about sex / reproduction from a young age. My mom always said, if you're old enough to ask the question, you're old enough to hear the answer. Well, I'm just a super curious person, so of course I would ask a variety of questions about sex and where babies came from during my elementary school years. My parents kind of revealed parts of it to me over time, of course, telling me the most basic things first that I could really understand. So, I knew that the sperm from a man, which came from penis, would go inside the woman's vagina and fertilize an egg, which would grow into a fetus. Cool. How did the sperm get in there? Well, I truly though it just flew through the air, like little birds or perhaps a butterfly, up and into the woman's vagina. I did realize the logistical problems with this though. How does the sperm get through your clothes? And does the woman have to wear a dress? Well, I had questions. Mom had answers. When I asked her how the sperm managed to float magically from the man's penis and somehow find its way into a woman's vagina, my mom gave me the most horrified look. She realized she left out the part about intercourse, I think. I'd love to ask her now if she remembers this. Sadly, she died in 2016. I'll never forget sitting in the bottom of the stairs with my mom, her looking down at me saying, Brantley, you don't know how the sperm actually gets into the vagina? What? No, they fly? No, the boy and girl have to have sex. Okay, the penis has to go in the vagina. Cue my world exploding. Everything made sense. Masturbation made sense. Sex scenes in movies made sense. So many jokes that went over my head. I exclaimed, loud enough to echo through the house. Ooh. So my dad used to say he was at gym until like 11 PM 3 times a week. My dad was pretty fit, so I naively believed him, as did my other 4 siblings. You can see where this is going, right? One day my boyfriend, now husband, was hanging out with me, and my dad came in late as usual and greeted us. After my dad went upstairs, my boyfriend asked me why my dad always gets home so late, and I told him he goes to the gym after work. He looked at me like I was an idiot, rightfully so, and said, he's at the gym from 5 PM to 11 PM. Come on, you don't believe that, right? I told him I did. My husband shook his head, and that was that. Until a few years later, when my 2 of my sisters came to my apartment and told me that dad was cheating on mom with a coworker and had been even since we were little kids. I felt like a fool. There had been so many weird things about my dad that I brushed aside in my mind. I remember when I was really young I overheard my parents arguing and my mom talk about a divorce. I remember crying at the top of the stairs thinking about that and then asking my mom and dad later why they were getting divorced. My dad got so mad at me, he yelled at me and accused me of lying. I was maybe 6 years old at the time, and I remember feeling so confused and hurt, and that maybe I was crazy and made it all up. Then there was the whole going to the gym thing 3 nights a week for 6 hours at a time. Also, my dad always liked to make himself look like the victim whenever my parents would argue, and they did so constantly. My mom didn't deal well with him cheating, but didn't want to divorce him because she still loves him and for the kids. She went from being a very loving and enthusiastic mom to abusing alcohol and pain pills and being angry all the time. My relationship with my mom wasn't the best for a long time. I loved her, but I didn't see her pain. I just saw her anger, her mean streak, her craziness, and my dad used that. Whenever they would fight, he would act so damn innocent and make my mom out to be the villain every time. I actually think that was what hurt me the most when I found out, knowing how much my mom had suffered alone and how my dad used against my mom in arguments, so we would always take his side. My mom was not innocent in this though. She was an adult. She made a choice to stay and endure, and that broke her. Both my mom and dad could have made the correct choice at any time, but they didn't, and everyone was made more miserable as a result. TLDR. Dad was at the gym for 6 hours after work 3 days a week, and my siblings and I believed this lie for 10+ years before we discovered the truth.